Hello and welcome back to the Soccer Punter Saturday podcast. I am your host, John T8. It's game week 4 of the Premier League, and we are going to get stuck in to the 6 Saturday fixtures. Plenty of action today. And we're going to start at Bramall Lane as Sheffield United host Everton. This is a bottom of the table clash and 2 relegation candidates early in the season. Looking at Sheffield United first, not a great start to their season. 3 losses on the bounce, and those games, it's hard to argue they should have got anything out of them. As you can see from the XG, Sheffield United really struggling to create in front of the opposition goal, while their opponents generating well over 1 expected goal. You could argue they were lucky to get on the score sheet versus Man City, and they were certainly lucky not to concede more than the 2 goals that they did. Shots there, 8, 7 and 6, not good enough in front of goal, as we said. The Blades will hope that the acquisition of Cameron Archer will add something to their forward line, and assuming he's going to make his debut this weekend, you would like to think that both he and Beto of Everton are going to make debuts and perhaps have an influence on the scoring here. Multiple offsides in each of their games so far, high corner numbers, 10, 13 and 13. Multiple yellow cards. Everton also a team that have started out with 0 points from 3 games, but unlike their opponents Sheffield United, Everton can feel really unlucky to not have notched a goal so far. Generating 2.73 XG against Fulham, not managing to score, 1.34 against Wolves, not managing to score, and unfortunately for them, conceding late on in both of those games. Looking at Everton last season, on the road to their fellow bottom 10 finishers, you can see that they conceded in every single game, bar 1 against Crystal Palace. You can also see that they managed to score in the games against the relegated teams or the teams that were flirting with relegation all season, and you would have to put Sheffield United in them in terms of rankings. So they scored 1 against Leeds, 2 against Southampton, 2 against Forest, 2 against Leicester and 1 against Wolves. So this is a game where I'm kind of expecting Everton will get their first goal of the season, but there's no guarantees of a clean sheet, of course. Their shots data, inconsistent between home and away. At home, very high. Away, not good enough. Foul numbers, 10 or above in each. At least 1 offside in each of their games. Corner numbers, 14, 13 and 7. High throw-in numbers, 15 or more. And then 4 and 3 yellow cards in their last 2 games, 7 overall. And here's some notes on this. Sheffield United, so we're going to say that there's going to be over 1.5 match goals. I actually think both teams can score here, but I would expect that there's going to be more than 1 goal, just the way that this season has started for both teams, and both teams are going to come into this, no doubt, sensing that they can get something out of the match. Over 9.5 free kicks. Everton, obviously, fouling fairly consistently, as we saw in the numbers. Sheffield United with at least 1 offside in all of their games so far. We're asking for them to get 1 here. Both teams to be carded, and over 1.5 team cards for the Blades. Everton, over 1.5 match goals again. I think Everton can hit at least 12 shots in this match. Over 9.5 free kicks, the Blades are playing a certain way as well. Everton to get at least 4 corners in the game. They have been contributing to the high corner numbers that we've seen from them so far. And again, both teams to be carded. Couple of selections for this one. I'm going to go with a single of both teams to score at a price of minus 106. I'm going to advise 1 unit on that. And I'm also going to have half a unit on this plus 400 same game parlay using the statistics that we have analysed so far. A lot needs to go right here, but every chance that these legs land, and it'll be a fun one to cheer off early Saturday morning. On to the first of the 10 a.m. games now, and we've got a good match here between Brentford and Bournemouth at the G-Tech. Brentford have made a decent start to the season, unbeaten, a win and 2 draws. I was surprised that they didn't manage to see out the win against Crystal Palace, but the data kind of suggests that that was a fair result given everything. Against Fulham, they ran rampant, 3.93 XG, 3 goals converted. And coming up against this Bournemouth side, who top the metrics in terms of shots conceded, both last season and already this season, you can see them getting themselves on the score sheet once or twice in this game at the very least. Shots data 11, 17, 12. Fouls 9 or above, at least one offside in each of their games. Corner numbers 9, 10 and 14. And they've had 1, 2 and 0 yellows, one of the better disciplines in the league so far. Bournemouth, their shots 14, 13, 11 so far. Something to touch upon here is the number of shots that Antoine Semenyo is getting away for Bournemouth. He seems to be a key figure for them going forward right now, averaging over 3.5 shots per game. I think that number is about 3.8 actually. Something to keep an eye on, something I'm going to be including in the parlay in a little while. As you can see here, against West Ham, probably deserved something out of that match. Against Liverpool and Spurs, just leaving themselves too open, allowing far too many quality chances on goal to the opposition, and they'll have to be wary of that here. Shots data pretty good for Bournemouth, they'll contribute. We know about the corner numbers there, and they've got 1, 3 and 1 yellow card so far. So looking at what I would do as a selection here, Brentford on the double chance. I think there's going to be more than one match goal. There's every chance that both teams get on the score sheet here. Over 23.5 match shots, with Bournemouth conceding as many as they do, but also trying to give as good as they get. I think this has got a real chance of landing. Both teams to be carded. And I've actually added a Brian Mbeumo shot on target here for Brentford. In the Premier League, he is actually one, if not the first, if not the best in terms of XG so far per 90. On the Bournemouth side of things, there's the match goals and the match shots once again, as well as the both teams to be carded. And I'm going to add that Antoine Semenyo selection in there to over 1.5 shots. That leads us to this same game parlay. 6 legs, plus 275 is the price, and I would advise half a unit. Just a little note for everybody listening, the Antoine Semenyo over 1.5 shots single is currently priced at about minus 125, minus 130. I would not put anyone off of that. I think it's a great one to add in. Off the turf moor next, and it's Burnley versus Spurs. And this is a game that I found pretty hard to unpack. Burnley have obviously started with 2 losses, both of them at home, but both of them against very good opponents. Man City, reigning champions, of course, running riot on the opening night, 3-0. And then up against Villa, they managed to lose that one 3-1. But Villa have been extremely impressive since Unai Emery came in. Actually, only Man City have accumulated more points than Aston Villa since Emery was appointed last October. Looking at the shots data here, 6 against Man City, not very good. 9 against Villa. That number probably would have been a lot higher had they actually started the game in the first half. Dreadful first half from them. They came out in the second half, got their early goal, but by that time it was just a consolation, really. Foul numbers have been fairly high. Corner numbers 11 and 10, so consistent there. Same with throw-ins, 15 and 14. 1 red card on the opening night, and then 2 yellows against Villa last time out. Spurs, great to the start to the season for them. Great to see Ange Postecoglou doing so well there. 3rd position in the Premier League, 7 points from a possible 9 in the opening matches. They've scored 2 goals in every game, and they have been generating XG that would suggest that going forward, they are adjusting to life without Harry Kane. Against Brentford, probably the right result, or maybe they got a little lucky there. Manchester United, they were lucky not to concede, particularly in that first half, but in the second half they were very professional about how they went and secured the points. And then against Bournemouth last time, very professional performance, dominated the game, really didn't look like they were troubled too much defensively. Just before we move on to these statistics here, that's 2 clean sheets in a row for Tottenham Hotspur this season. Last season, they did not manage 3 clean sheets in a row at all. They managed back-to-back clean sheets, I think, on 4 occasions. They never got that 3rd, so that's something to maybe consider when we're looking at this one. Shots data, 10, 17, 17. Shots on target, 6, 6 and 6, very consistent. Corners, relatively high, 9, 11 and 8. Throw-ins, 16 or above, multiple bookings in each. I've got some notes on this game. I think there will be over 1 match goal. I think there'll be over 7 match corners. And I think both teams will be carded. I don't see Spurs losing this one, so double chance could be added in there. I think Spurs are more than capable of hitting 12 or more shots. But ultimately, I could not find enough value in any of the single selections, and when I started to try and put together a same game parlay, it was just too many legs. So I'm going to leave this game well alone. If you do happen to come up with something yourself that you'd like to share, please do so. We'd love to see it. Stamford Bridge next. Chelsea welcome Nottingham Forest to London. And Chelsea very much a club in transition right now. Made a decent start under Mauricio Pochettino. Inconsistent in the results column there, but as you can see, they have won the XG battle in all 3 games so far, so probably feel a little aggrieved to have only taken 4 points from the first 9. As you can see from the shots data, 10, 17, 19, hitting 4 or more shots on target in each game. Corner numbers, 8, 12 and 10. Throw-in numbers, pretty inconsistent. Yellow cards, consistent. Multiple yellow cards in their games so far. And Nottingham Forest, well, they'll feel a little disappointed with not getting something out of the game against United, having led 2-0 last week. But it's kind of typical of Steve Cooper's side over the past couple of seasons, where they are very good at home and then away they just don't get the job done. Their away opponents so far have been Arsenal, Man United, and now they're going to play Chelsea, so fair to say they've not had the most easiest of starts. They have scored and conceded in every game so far, though, something I'm definitely looking at. So, they have managed an offside, at least one offside in every game so far. The corner number's relatively high, 11, 13 and 14, with Forest getting 3, 6 and 3 themselves each time. Multiple yellows and 1 red for them, of course, last time out. So they will be carrying a suspension into this game for Joe Worrell. And this is what I came up with in the notes here. I think both teams will score in the match. I think we'll see at least 3 goals in the game. Chelsea, the way that they're attacking, I have to imagine they're going to get a good number of shots, and they've been pretty consistent in their output up top as well, so I'm expecting 4 or more shots on target. I think Chelsea can contribute with 5 or more corners, and I think we'll see both teams get a couple of cards here. I think this could be a fun one to watch if you're into your cards and violence. Nottingham Forest side of things, not much that I think they'll contribute individually, just, saying that both teams to score over 2.5 goals and the both teams to receive 2+ cards there. I do think Forest are capable of getting themselves at least 3 corners in this one, though. And that has led me to this same game parlay priced at plus 350. Again, advising half a unit on these bigger prices. Over 1 goal in the match, over 13.5 shots for Chelsea, over 3.5 shots on target for Chelsea, over 4 corners for Chelsea, both teams to receive 2+ cards, and over 2 corners for Forest. Champions Manchester City welcome Fulham to town. And this one is, I'm a little worried for Fulham in this one, if I'm honest, because Man City, it doesn't feel like they've hit top gear yet, but they've still managed to be very impressive in their opening 3 games, picking up 9 points from 9, sitting top of the Premier League. And as you can see here, the XG suggests that they're good value for all 3 victories so far, running out 3-0 winners against Burnley, against Newcastle, 1-0 victors, a little over 1 expected goal there. Professional job, got it done. Against Sheffield United, 3.6 expected goals, only managed to score 2 in a game where they had so many shots. I think it was 30 or so. They were unlucky not to get more than the 2 that they got for sure. Haaland himself probably could have scored 3 or 4. Shots data high for Man City, as you would expect. They've had at least 1 offside in every game so far, maybe something to look at. Corner numbers all over the place. Throwing numbers, again, all over the place. The cards angle is definitely something I'm interested in this game. Only 1 yellow card across their 3 games so far, the best discipline in the Premier League. Fulham. Well, a win, a loss and a draw so far. That win on the opening day coming against Everton, and you can see from the XG that they were pretty lucky to walk away with all 3 points in that one. When they went and played Brentford, they were demolished. It was not a good performance. And then up against Arsenal last time, Arsenal really gifted them a couple of goals. 0.56 XG generated. They managed to get 2 goals. They conceded 2 goals, but they actually conceded closer to 3 on the expected. So, yeah, it's one could argue that 4 points probably should be maybe 2 or 1 from those opening 3 games. Problem that Fulham have, of course, is that Alexander Mitrovic is gone. The talisman is, someone that made them look immensely better and different, especially in forward areas. And with the reported interest in Paulinho this week, he's easily their best player right now, in my opinion. And if he goes, I think Fulham are in a really tough spot with the window winding down. They're going to have to spend some money and try and get people in, unless if they want to survive in the Premier League. I think this Fulham side could become a relegation candidate. Shots data fairly consistent, as we can see there. Offsides, at least 1 in every game so far. Corner numbers, fairly high, 14, 10, 11. Throwing numbers, kind of all over the place. And then the yellow cards, 2, 2 and 4, 2 reds. One of the worst disciplines in the Premier League so far, factoring in those red cards. And this leads me to these notes. I think Man City win the game fairly comfortably. Over 2.5 match goals. I honestly think Man City could score 3, maybe 4 themselves here. Man City bound to have the fair share of the shots. I'm saying over 14.5 shots here. That's only half of what they managed last time out. And I think Man City can contribute with 5 or more corners. Fulham, over 2.5 match goals in the game. I think under 10.5 shots for Fulham, but I hate backing unders. It makes games a really uncomfortable watch, in my opinion. And I think Fulham pick up at least 2 cards, maybe more in this game. This has led me to this single. I'm going to back Fulham -1 on the card spread. Man City, I can only see them picking up 0, maybe 1. Fulham, I can see picking up 2, maybe 3. So this is a nice price for a single, +125. I'm going to have a unit on this. And moving into the final game of Saturday, it's the lunchtime kickoff between Brighton and Newcastle at the Amex. 2 teams that will be looking to bounce back from disappointing losses last week. Brighton starting off with 2 wins and a loss, sitting 6th in the Premier League. Their games seeing plenty of goals. And as you can see here, just looking at Brighton's record last year since Roberto De Zerbi took charge, just goals everywhere. Really interesting stat is that since De Zerbi took charge of Brighton, they've generated more XG than any other team in the Premier League, including Man City. Quite a remarkable statistic, really. But that somewhat gung-ho approach that he takes with his teams, it creates such a high volume of goal-scoring opportunities for them, but it really does leave them very, very open. In the 35 league games since De Zerbi took charge, the Seagulls have only kept 9 clean sheets. 23 of those 35 games have seen both teams scoring. And those games are averaging 3.5. It's crazy games. And we've seen that from the beginning. So 4-1, 4-1 and 3-1 in the results columns there in the opening games. I'm kind of expecting something similar here. High shots on target, high XG, all things that they are topping in the Premier League already this season. Foul numbers fairly consistent, 10 or more in each game. Corner numbers extremely high. In the last match, a total of 21 against West Ham as they were chasing that game. Throwing numbers fairly consistent, and then at least 1 yellow card in all of their games so far. Newcastle. After such a positive start against Man City, they looked really toothless going to the Etihad against Man City. And I know it's Man City, but given everything that was going on there with injuries and their Super Cup duties, in the midweek, you did feel that Newcastle could have gone there and been a bit more aggressive in their approach. And then the Liverpool game last time out, I mean, 1-0 up to go on to lose it 2-1 to 10 men, really disappointing. Looking at Newcastle, under Eddie Howe, away games here from last season against their fellow top 10 finishers, it makes for interesting reading. Only 2 clean sheets there that I'm counting. 3 clean sheets there, coming up against Brighton, Man United and Arsenal. Conceded 2 against Liverpool, conceded 2 against Man City, 3 against Villa. It's an interesting one. Newcastle for the longest time looked like they were so strong defensively, looked like that they were so good and tight at the back, but a really interesting stat I came across was that Newcastle only kept something like, I think it's 2 clean sheets in 22 domestic games, in their last 22 domestic games. So it is an interesting one, and I do think that they could be vulnerable here up against this Brighton side, who will no doubt be looking to bounce back. Fouls have been pretty high for Newcastle as well. They definitely have some personnel there that are not shy of a foul. Guimaraes, Joe Linton, Trippier likes a shirt pull now and again. Gordon pictured here, he likes to wind up the opponents and is partial to a yellow himself. Corner numbers kind of all over the place. Throw-in numbers as well, not massively consistent, but the yellow cards there, 4, 5 and 1. You can certainly see Newcastle picking up their fair share of cautions this season. Tried and tested formula really for Brighton. Both teams to score over 2.5 match goals. Those prices get shorter every single week. I think Brighton will have plenty of shots in this one. I think the shots on target, I think they're definitely looking more clinical this season than they did last. Certainly under De Zerbi they've looked more clinical than they did under Graham Potter, for example. Brighton with an offside in every game so far. I'm expecting at least one here as they go chasing the game, and I think both teams do get carded here. This is, I think this could be a bit of a basketball match. Just adding in here for Newcastle, them to also get an offside here. They've had one in every match so far, so I don't see why they wouldn't get one here. The throw-in numbers for Newcastle, I'm going to say that they can get at least 13, and I do think both teams will be carded again. So that leads me to this plus 400 same game parlay. There's 8 legs on this one, so again, it's another one where we need a lot to go right in order for us to be celebrating at the end of it. But the lunchtime game Saturday, I think it's going to be really entertaining. 2 teams that will hopefully be motivated to go and try and pick up the 3 points following a disappointing weekend last weekend. So yeah, every chance that this lands, I'll certainly be watching this one with a bag of popcorn in my hand. And that is it for the Saturday edition of the Soccer Punter podcast. Many thanks to you for listening. If you enjoyed this video, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. I'll be back tomorrow with the 3 Sunday Premier League games. So until then, best of luck with all of your bets this Saturday. Take care. Bye-bye.